Bobcats!
I'm Isabella Bernabeo, your assistant web editor-in-chief.
I'm Juliette D'Eliseo, your sports editor.
And I'm Leah Ertel, your entertainment editor. Welcome back to another episode of Here, There, and Everywhere. Today we have a very special episode featuring our very own Isabella Bernabeo. As a senior who just got accepted into 2 major colleges, she is a bucket full of info that we will utilize by having a Q&A session. So let's get into it.
Alright guys, so I guess you guys are just going to ask me a few questions you have about colleges, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. So if you guys want to get started, we can,
So Bella, how does it feel to be accepted into NYU and Emerson in Boston?
Well, I mean, it feels insane. I feel like I never would have gotten here because I worked so hard throughout high school to get into these prestigious schools. And when I first opened that first acceptance from Emerson, I jumped up and down. Like, my cheeks hurt from smiling all day. And I felt like I had a headache because I was so overwhelmed with just happiness and joy. And then when I got that NYU one and I saw that I got like a full ride pretty much, I was like, oh my God, how did this happen to me? Like, I actually worked hard and I worked toward this, and these colleges saw that and they showed that, they really proved that if you do work hard and you do, work towards your goals, you can get these crazy, acceptances to these prestigious schools, and you just feel on top of the world. So it's crazy.
Oh, yeah, that's something, huh? On the topic of that note, how many colleges did you apply for, and how many should one apply for?
So I applied to 10 colleges because I thought that would be a good number. I thought that it would give me a good range of being able to apply for safety schools, for about 3 or 4 safety schools, 3 or 4 reach schools, and then a couple in the middle that I felt like were a good match for me. So I think 10 is about a good number, personally.
Okay.
What should high school students do to prepare for college? Like home life, being away from home, like making money for themselves and stuff? Because you already have a job and...
Yeah, so one thing I recommend high school students do, to prepare themselves besides just, in their academics, is doing a lot of extracurriculars, because extracurriculars is what makes you to college applications. There are a lot of people who can put good grades on their college applications, but not everyone can have their own individuality. So, for example, if you love volleyball like Juliette does, that makes you stand apart. It's showing that that's part of your personality. Or if you love animals like I do, that shows that I work at a nature center where there are animals. I take care of animals, and where I volunteered there because that's, something I fell in love with passion-wise. And then always having a job, it makes you look good on college applications because it shows that you can hold that responsibility and be an adult. So I highly recommend getting a job at least junior or senior year of high school for a little bit. If it's too much, of course, you need to focus on academics. Of course, that always comes first. But if you find time either on the weekends or during the summers, holding that job shows you have the ability to be responsible.
Yeah.
Okay, do you still need to have an SAT score to get accepted into colleges?
So most colleges, and I really love this, they are test optional. So you do not need to submit SAT or ACT scores. There are a few colleges that still require it, but the majority of colleges have moved away from that, and I actually really like that because a lot of students do not perform well on standardized testing. I know that I don't. So I didn't submit any SAT or ACT scores because I didn't take them, because I just didn't feel like it truly showed who I am to these college admissions people. And I feel like, if you really want to and you get a good grade on it, of course, submit it, but you should not hold yourself to a standardized test.
Yeah, because you're more than your transcript, as many people say. When do you, start applying? In your junior year, your senior year?
So I started applying, there's a big process, really. At the end of your junior year, really, you should start looking for colleges and looking for ones you want to apply to, ones that meet your interest. And then in August where you're starting your senior year, that's when the Common App applications open up, and that's when a lot of other college platforms open up as well. So you can start submitting your applications by usually August 1st, and then you can work on them, and then they have different deadline dates for each college. But yeah, August 1st is about the date when you start applying.
And then, what's your take on this? What happens if someone doesn't want to go to college? Like, what do you think they could do instead, or what's your overall opinion on it?
Well, there are a lot of other options besides college based on what you want. Like, there are other schools, such as, like there are community colleges, there are universities, there are what's it called?
Trade schools.
Trade schools. There's trade schools that go into there. And then there's people that go right into the workforce. It's really depending on what you want and what you're looking for. There are some careers that require you to, get a bachelor's degree or a master's, whatever it is. And there are some careers where you don't need that, where you can, start working as soon as you graduate high school. So it's really based on who you are and what it is that you want.
Yeah, it's a very individual time,
Yeah, like personally, I want to be a journalist, and that requires me to go to college and get, a degree. So that's what I want to do. Also, I've just always liked the idea of having that college experience, so that's just what I prefer. But not everyone else has to have that same goal.
And then something that's on my mind that I know I'll have to be doing is how terrible are the personal essays that you have to submit?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so it really depends because every college application has a different essay requirement. For example, some only require one essay, and that's the Common App essay that you send out to all colleges.
Can it be the same essay?
Yeah, so there's one Common App essay, for example.
Okay.
And that Common App essay gets sent out to every school you apply to. And some, that's all you need. Some schools, like for example, Columbia, they require 7 essays in addition to the Columbia essay. But
you wrote 7 essays?
What are the different topics?
It changes almost every year. They usually change their prompts, but most of those Columbia essays were about 100 words limit.
Oh, like short paragraph.
Yeah, short paragraph. So there are some essays that are like 750 words, 450 words, 100 words, 50 words even. So it really depends on the colleges, but they actually weren't too terrible. I had a lot of college essays to do. I probably had 25 based on the colleges I did, but I would say at least a third of them were 100 words or less. And fortunately for me, I like writing, so they weren't too terrible. And I had my parents and my friends look it over just to look for any mistakes before I sent them in. But yeah, they weren't too terrible because most of the prompts were asking you about yourself. And you don't usually get to write about that. You don't get to write about what you've done to impact your community, what you're interested in. Usually when you write in English class, it's about analyzing a book or something. Or even in journalism class, it's about other people's stories. But it was really nice to actually be able to write out your story. And if you just look at it in that lens, I feel like it's not too terrible.
Yeah.
What is a basic prompt that they'll give you?
A basic prompt? One of the most basic prompts I see is describe why you wanted to apply to this college. What makes you want to go here? So that's a really basic one I see. Another basic one I see is what qualifications do you have? What makes you the best fit? So those are two of the most, yeah. But then there's also really unique ones. Like for Emerson, for example, they're like, what would you title the story of your life and why? And I found that really interesting. So
what was yours?
Yeah, I did the untold storyteller because I am the person who, writes the stories of others, but my story is untold. So that's what I wrote about for that one.
Deep. Okay, so now going back to getting into the college.
Will more community service hours help you get into a good college?
So, community service hours are very helpful because, like I was saying, if you're looking at 2 applicants and they're neck and neck, community hours can set them apart if one has more community service hours. I know for Ivy Leagues, they won't even look at your application unless you have over 100 hours. I was able to get 120 hours at the place I now work, the Agua Hedionda Lagoon Foundation. It's a fun place to volunteer. It's a great community. You're doing impactful work, so it's a great place to volunteer. And there are, of course, other places that are great to volunteer as well. But yeah, community service hours help a lot because if you have the more volunteer hours, then you are more set apart from the rest of the group.
Okay.
What's the average amount of community service hours that you need to graduate, but also is recommended, like you should?
So from Sage Creek High School, you need 20 hours to graduate. Every college, it's really dependent. Some colleges, they require you have at least like 50 hours or something, and some require 0. So it really depends. But again, even if they require 0 at that college, if you have them, it sets you apart from the rest of the group.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if you play a sport, will that give you higher priority? Like the community service hours, will that give you higher priority if you have a sport?
So playing a sport is definitely an extracurricular that can help show, your passions and what you can bring to the school. Just like, some people commit to college based on their commitment to play a sport at that school. So it really depends on what extracurriculars you have. Some people are really interested in journalism, so we have journalism as our extracurricular. Some people are really interested in football, so people have football as their extracurricular. And you can be accepted into these different programs, the sports program, the journalism program, based on what they are looking for and what you can bring to their program.
Okay, this is the last question. What should you say in your college application to attract more attention?
Let me think about this one. This is a good question. Who came up with this one?
Me.
Juliette. Tease. Alright, so something that you could do to attract more attention in your college applications is really in your essays, I think. Because your essays are a large part of whether you get accepted or not. So if you show mature, stylistic writing in your essays, it shows that you have the ability to communicate. And I know a lot of people don't like English, but there's a reason why
we take English.
We have to take English for 4 years and for like 3 years in most colleges as well, depending on your major and all that sort of stuff. But it's because one of the most vital parts of being a human is being able to communicate, because no matter what your job is, you have to communicate with other people. You have to know how to communicate and collaborate. So if you show that you can communicate with these admissions people through a college essay, especially if it's only in 100 words, that will definitely make you stand apart. So really, before you're submitting your college applications, you want to pick apart your essays and make sure they're as great as they can be, because that is a large part about if you get accepted or not into a college. So yeah, you want to show mature, stylistic, individuality, passion in your writing.
No matter what you do in the future, it's always going to be about communication. You got to be able to talk to people, because there's no way you're ever going to escape people, And it's important, especially applying for colleges. You got to have that it factor, and just being able to just, like you said, just show maturity and prove that this is someone that the colleges would want. And so, congratulations, Bella, for getting accepted.
Thank you.
Now you have big decisions on which
know.
college you got to choose.
I don't want to choose.
Well, you can just bask in the sun of it for now. So yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any other questions that have come up or that you have on your list?
No.
No. Are we all good?
Do clubs help get attention?
Yes, that's another extracurricular that can really, just help, because if you show that you have, those leadership skills and those leadership responsibilities, if you're, an important figure in a club or even involved in a club where you did meaningful work, and you show that on your college application, it will help you, stand apart and show what you're passionate about and who you are individually and what you can bring to that college campus.
Yeah. All right. That is all. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. This has been Isabella Bernabeo,
Juliette D'Eliseo,
and Leah Ertel
for The Sage. Just tune in next week. This is The Sage Pod, here, there, and everywhere.
Yay.
Bye.